Thanks for giving us the last panel for the Hyderabad leg of this fantastic International Blockchain Congress. Being the last session, I can take the liberty of summarizing a lot which has been discussed already over the past 2 days. It also gives me a liberty to drive my own mandate or agenda as I may see, because a lot have already been spoken about what blockchain is, what ICOs are, where are we in terms of the development globally, and where we see India progressing further. So the way I'm gonna drive this panel is if we could start with a quick round of introduction, maybe just a couple of lines from the panelists, following which I'll set the context, and then we'll take forward the discussion. So maybe Sahil, we can start from you.
Yeah.
If you could introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, hi. I'm Sahil. I've been working in the crypto industry for the past 1.5 years, developing products, raising successful ICO. Most of the, successful to some point, because we have started with 100 million ICO, raised about 73 million in about 4 months. So that's basically what I do. My background involves selling 2 companies, which is a fintech and an ad tech company successfully. When I was in high school, I dropped out, went to Draper University and the TL Foundation, and then I started working. And yeah, that's when we started getting involved in the crypto industry. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Isu. Actually, my name is that's not my name, but I guess, yeah. I work in the crypto industry for last 4 years. I started as an engineer and worked for different financial institutions like a Visa card and the HSBC and some investment bank. And then also co-founder, and then I become an investor. I'm the co-founder of one of the largest crypto funds in South Korea. And then I've been advising some projects, the ICON and Nucleus Vision. And few more. And then now I'm working with FBG Capital, largest Chinese crypto fund in the world, largest Chinese crypto fund. So we are building the research center and then accelerator right now. Yeah, very nice to meet you today.
Hi everyone, my name is Rama Rao. And like many of you, I actually started off with engineering, and I studied in IIT Delhi and followed up with an MBA at IIM Calcutta and also at INSEAD. After 28 years in the pharma industry, I thought I'd like to apply some of the knowledge that I've gained to sort out issues which relate to patients and patient care, and consequently created Bloqcube, which is basically going to apply blockchain technology in the area of clinical research and clinical development and clinical trials. And we have got a prototype ready, and I'm really thrilled to be given the honor to share my thoughts both at this panel and tomorrow.
Hello all, I'm Arnav Kishore, founder and CEO of Boltt and Boltt Coin. So Boltt is a health and fitness brand. We're into the business of making fitness wearables. We're a 3-year-old company doing $2 million in annual revenue, having tens and thousands of users today. Boltt Coin is a decentralized digital health economy based on blockchain. The platform enables monetization of user-generated and user-controlled health data. I personally, I've played international level lawn tennis for about 18 years of my life. That's where the sports and fitness angle comes from. And so yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Okay. Thank you, Arnab. Thank you, Arnab Kumar, for giving this opportunity. Great profile of other speakers. My name is Babu Munagala. I founded and CEO of a company called Zebi. Word Zebi comes from Zebi Byte. Stands for a lot of data, 1 trillion gigabytes. We do blockchain protection for big data. We already have live customers paying from governments and enterprises in land registry, hospitality industry, as in hotel visitor information. And we just launched Zebi education chain yesterday in front of Honorable IT Minister and Principal Secretary. So the fundamental idea is whenever there is high value data, privacy sensitive, there is room for tampering, there's room for manipulation of the data, and the decision making has significant impact, right? You're deciding whether to hire somebody based on the educational qualification, or you're deciding to give your house to somebody to stay in the house. You want to make sure that their credentials are right and they can be relied on. And right now in India especially, it's a low trust environment, and there is a lot of manual work. It's expensive, it's fraud ridden, tampering is happening all over, misuse of data is happening all over, and we want to transform that. And there's a big opportunity to leapfrog India into a blockchain trusted model where the decentralization and immutability can be very, very useful to take India to next stage.
Thank you all the panelists. This is Raj. I am the founder of ZAGG Network. ZAGG Network is building a first of its kind protocol for the GBRL, which is gift cards, benefits, rewards and loyalty system. I'm also the founder of ZAGG. ZAGG is a $150 million revenue company. About 2.5 million users, 6,500 brands work with us, and we have about 2.2 million cards in the market. So ZAGG is inspired by ZAGG, and what we are trying to do is bring a 3 trillion market into the main market. We lose about $200 billion on a yearly basis in terms of unredeemed loyalty and gift cards. What we are trying to do is build a protocol on which all the various D-apps can be built. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, everyone, for the introduction. I have the privilege of kicking off this fantastic panel. The name itself, the art of raising ICOs, carries a lot of weight, especially in 2018. If you have seen, 2018 has been a phenomenal year for ICOs globally. Probably 14 billion have been raised so far, which is more than what has been raised in all year combined before 2018. So probably a great year for ICOs in general. And also you'll see what has happened across the globe. Unfortunately, not so much for India, but across the globe, you'll see the markets have started maturing. You have seen regulators warming up to the concept of ICOs. You have seen basically definitive rulings or statements coming out of government agencies, whether it be SEC, which has put the Howey test into act and said that almost all tokens are some sort of a security. You have seen Switzerland coming up with their own ICO policies. Singapore has always been very, very progressive. Compare that to what has been happening in India. The Honorable Finance Minister said that a cryptocurrency is probably not a legal tender, and you have seen RBI clamping down on a lot of virtual currency exchanges, which makes a lot of sense from what's happening in the cryptocurrency space in India. If you see a lot of activity happening in India was not more so as ICO driven. The chatter that was in the crypto space in India, it was more about exchanging of bitcoins, that too at probably 5 to 10% premium, and with a limited supply. So we were not there in terms of a market for cryptocurrencies per se. So what the RBI and other agencies have done is probably the right thing to do. You don't have an efficient market functioning here in India, and people are only finding ways to exchange bitcoins. So maybe this could be a lesson for building a more robust, inclusive ICO or a crypto regime for the country. If you see the kind of tokens that have been in vogue, you'll see a lot of tokens have been utility tokens. Probably 95% of them have been utility tokens, but a lot of discussions now on having this securitization of token angle so that they can adhere to a lot of regulators, local regulators, people like SEC compliant tokens that has come into picture. So with that context, I want to understand how has been the market in terms of ICOs globally. What are the best practices? And Rama, I wanted to start with you because we were discussing earlier, and you said that you have chosen a non-Ethereum fabric for your blockchain. And this is important because if you see the kind of ICOs that have come up in the last 5 to 6 years, about 80% of them have used Ethereum. So Rama wanted to pick your views on why not going the Ethereum route.
Thanks. So the first thing is that the fundamentals is to take a look at the product market fit and our customers. And the area of the business that we are in, people tend to be very risk averse, not just risk neutral. So my sense was, or our sense was, if we start going down an Ethereum route, we'll have to explain the whole thing on Ethereum before we get to it. And then the second part is also, if we can find like something like IBM Fabric Hyperledger, which works very efficiently, that would be our choice. The third thing, of course, is the stability and structures, etc. And to be sure, we've not had the sort of bad press with IBM Fabric that sometimes happened with, let's say, the Mt. Gox issue with Ethereum moving forward. So that briefly is the thought process behind how we have gone about it.
Arnav, you are also in the process of your ICO for Boltt, and we had a discussion where we saw that you have been in the business space, you have been in the technology space for quite some time, and ICO became a natural progression for you rather than you trying to float another white paper ICO with no underlying business fundamentals. And that's where a lot of ICOs have tripped in the past. What we have seen is about 2/3 of all ICOs that have been announced have never closed, and especially ICOs with smaller amounts because maybe they don't have an inherent business case, and maybe it doesn't make sense for them to raise money any which way, not even ICO way. So I wanted to pick up your brains on how you thought ICO was a natural progression to your business as usual, and how it will help you in the long run as you grow your business.
Thanks, Arnab. So for us, again, going back to what we've been doing at Boltt. So being a health and fitness company, we realized that the data that's being generated from the users. So there are two key problems because of which we, number one, chose to develop the Boltt coin platform. The first thing being that today, all the users that are actually generating their health data, and health could typically mean it could be wellness data, it could be medical, it could be as simple as taking steps or sleep. The sad part today is that the users do not have control over their own data. So by using blockchain, we're able to bring immense amount of security, immense amount of trust and transparency, and we're able to give control back into the user's hands. Number two is that with I would say that the second aspect is with the blockchain, we're able to also increase the level of monetization that can happen by the data that's being shared by these users. So it was a very natural progression for us to move into the blockchain space. And when we started off about a few months back with an idea of rolling out an ICO for our project, our goal was not really to do this because we wanted to raise money. Rather, it was being true to the blockchain society. We wanted to ensure that the platform that we're making is completely decentralized, and as a process, as a part of the process, the Boltt coins, the tokens, they within the ecosystem are serving a very large utility. And the token is nothing but it's a piece of it's a token which has some value associated to it, but it's functioning inside a self-governing business model. So like Arnab mentioned, I think today the misconception in many cases, and I hear this almost every day, is that you do an ICO, you just make a white paper, and you will have tens of millions of dollars pouring in your wallet the next day. And what I always say is that if you're only looking to raise money, the best route would be to go to a VC, go to private houses, and not do an ICO, because the whole idea of doing an ICO or making a blockchain-based project is to stay true to the principles of what blockchain is and what the society needs. And so we have lots of examples, and I think an interesting part again is if we go back of which was the first ICO. The first ICO was conducted in 2013. It was called Mastercoin. They raised somewhere around 5,000 bitcoins, which at that time would value close to 500,000 US dollars. It's no longer called Mastercoin. It's called Omni, if I'm right. And the second example, which I'm sure all of us over here would know, is that of Ethereum. Ethereum did their ICO in 2014, early 2014, and they raised about $15.5 million. And they very soon became, like today's Ethereum is the second largest crypto trading on CoinMarketCap. And I think these examples is what led projects to adopt the route of crowdfunding as a practice. And so in 2016, we saw that the market, I think the overall money raised was somewhere around $68 million. In 2017, it was somewhere around $6 billion. And in 2018, as of now, it's $14 billion plus, right? The funny thing here is that although the money being raised is significantly increasing year on year, the number of projects are increasing too, but the rate of success of projects is drastically decreasing. So we've got about 70% of the projects which are never seeing the light of the day, which are never reaching, which are never able to hit the exchanges, and that's causing a dramatic, a very large amount of burnout in the investors' minds. So we've got investors who have burnt their hands over the last few years in some bad projects, and that's causing a lot of bad sentiment to come into the crypto space. So what I truly believe is that any project, any ICO should kind of ensure that the rules of decentralization, complete transparency, and having the right characteristics should always be there. So yeah.
Thanks, Arnav. I have been in several discussions in the past year around this entire blockchain crypto space from a government's perspective. What has happened is, unfortunately, a lot of noise was around crypto exchanges and not so much around ICO per se. Babu, you have been a part of an ICO. You have raised there's some money through an ICO, and interestingly, you chose Singapore. So my next question would be, when you are raising an ICO, how do you go about choosing the right market and right set of investors or the investor ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's also a tough question, Arnab, because a lot of the regulations are changing. If you see Indian government, RBI, restriction on crypto exchanges to deal with traditional banks on withdrawals and deposits, it wasn't there a few months ago. It just happened suddenly, right? But Indian regulation was always, ambiguous. There was no clarity for many years. And in some countries like US and Singapore, it was very clear. People, SEC and Singapore MAS, they had a clear legislation of this is the right way to do ICO, this is the wrong way, this is the security token, these are utility tokens. So you should surely pick a regulatory legal environment where there is clarity, right? Then you know what you're doing and make sure that you're doing the right thing, you're following all the legal guidelines, right? And hire a good lawyer. There are not that many good ICO lawyers that you can hire for a reasonable price, because a lot of the international lawyers are very, very expensive, because the ICO space is highly inflated just because of the amounts of money, billions of dollars being raised. So all the consulting/advisory companies, they charge a lot. So be careful on how you choose a lawyer, how you choose the regulatory environment. But there are options available. There are reasonable options available. I think, Arnab, Kishore, you're selecting Estonia, right? I think I heard nice things about Singapore, Estonia, even Malta could be a good example, right? Gibraltar, right? There are a few choices that you should make, and know why you're doing that, and have a clear impact of how you will get the legal opinion from the lawyers within the jurisdiction that you're planning to raise the ICO from.
Okay, thanks. Coming to you, you have worked in the ICO space across the globe. You have an experience in running an incubator also. So when it comes to ICOs, apart from just the investors, what are the other things that one should be conscious about? How do you go about building this entire ecosystem? The question is more from an India's perspective. If we have to build the ICO ecosystem tomorrow, what all things we should be doing as a country?
You mean the ICO tomorrow? What should we consider?
Yeah, the question is, if India were to think favorably about ICOs in the maybe next 12 to 16 months, what are the top 5 things that we should be doing as a country? Whether it be building the developer ecosystem, whether it be the right regulators or the right advisors, how do we go about it?
For India?
Yeah. Given your global experience.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I've been discussing this beginning of this year a lot with Abhi from the Nucleus Vision because at the time not much, still some of the small exchanges exist, but still was quite bear market in India. It was starting to becoming very emerging. So I guess that's why Binance and a lot of different people wanted to work with Abhi and Nucleus Vision because it's getting started. So you can see the old opportunity. I guess that's still you need to. A lot of people already mentioned ICO is all about the decentralization. So we need a lot of people engaging in this industry, right? I guess so that's most important. Then for that, people own the crypto is also important. So maybe starting from the exchange and wallet. So people starting owning the crypto and then starting coming into the industry. I think that's quite interesting. I guess the oldest incubator I heard focusing on the existing business, the largest existing business, doing the reverse ICO to coming into the crypto. I think those amazing ICO can bring the lots of users to the crypto. The key is they don't know they are using the MetaMask behind, all those complicated stuff behind, but that they are actually benefiting from the blockchain technology, but not knowing all the difficulties right now, which is creating all the hassle, I guess. I don't know. And actually, I have a question about the decentralization of the ICO because you mentioned actually the ICO now become very centralized. You know what I mean? Like key crypto funds in the world, the top funds, they are investing in the most of project, and then and the most of project they don't really do the public ICO anymore because of a lot of different reasons. What do you think is a good direction we go, or we should go reverse? And then because my concern, I guess he actually suggested doing the more decentralized ICO. But actually thinking of you running your own project and doing the very decentralized ICO is very expensive, very complicated, and lots of legal risk. So you are building actually project and company, but you don't want to raise the fund forever, like 6 months and 8 months to make the very decentralized ICO. What do you think? What is the good way to make the token distribution very decentralized, but not taking too much time and then actually coming back to the real business, to building the actual business? I don't know. Maybe
Usually, if we may pick that up later, because I'm also conscious of the time. Raj, I wanted to ask you this very simple question. Suppose I'm a business person who doesn't have much knowledge of the technology behind an ICOs per se. How should I go about it? I mean, you mentioned about the protocols, etc. What are the 5 things that I should be even thinking about? And whether every business should be thinking about ICOs or traditional VC funding or a hybrid model? What is the right way?
So, to be very honest, there is no right model. The model which brings in money is the right model, is how I think about it. So, ICOs, why do we prefer ICOs over traditional route of funding is ICOs do not dilute your cap table. Okay, it gives you the flexibility to, take your token into the hands of real public instead of, concentrated into a VC. It is decentralized. So that's a, beautiful piece about ICO. where you are able to get capital based on trust, and the trust is basically shown by the founder and what is credibility and the model and the success about the model, right? Whether it's a viable product, it's not a viable product. In my opinion, there is no single right approach when people say, should I raise VC? Should I raise ICO? Should I raise private money? I say raise whatever you require, however you require. But I would definitely consider ICO to be a better route of raising money than VCs or private capital, because it comes with a lot of responsibility, but with a lot of freedom. And typically in a VC and having raised multiple rounds of funding in venture capital myself, I realized that it comes with freedom, but it comes with less freedom and more responsibility. So that way, I will always say, don't go hybrid, go ICO. That's the best way. Take money from the best funds. And today, if you see, a lot of VCs are launching crypto funds, and the reason of launching crypto funds is liquidity in the market, which they are getting. And good funds will always be patient capital. They will wait for the model to mature, the product to mature, and then only they will dump the coin, right? Versus we also have a lot of traders who are crypto traders who believe in the pump and dump model. So you have to be really, really smart to figure out how do you distribute the capital even while you are doing ICO. So line of thinking is raise ICO, unable to raise ICO, go to VC, unable to raise money from VC, go to private capital, right? And within ICO, please ensure the distribution is to patient capital much more than this pump and dump crypto traders.
That's a very interesting framework, Raj. Sahil, coming to you quickly. We have seen that as the industry has matured, you have seen responsible behavior both from people who are raising money through ICOs or raising tokens through ICOs, and also investors. Things like lockups being thrown in, things like people becoming very, very conscious of the business case, KYC, AML, and all that stuff. So I wanted to quickly pick up your brains on the standard practices that people should be thinking of when they are going forward or thinking ahead for their ICO.
Okay, so it's always good to follow a certain procedure while you're doing an ICO, more than just the need and the urgency to raise funds. Firstly, it has to be a very decent and easy platform. Now, when you crowd that and clutter that with the whole clutches of KYC, you have AML and with a lot of other information. So if I want to opt in an ICO and I see, I need to do 10 plus formalities to get into the ICO, I would probably leave that website in the first or second one, because obviously an individual is always afraid for some reasons to share most of his personal data with a third party. Having said that, it is important that you allow people to get into your ICO in an easy process. So for example, if I am doing an ICO and if somebody else is doing an ICO, what I would suggest is that you let people get into your ICO and make them invest easier, while when they create their account and they're into your ICO, make them do the KYC and then credit the tokens to them, because that way you already have involved and engaged somebody in your community and made him an active user, and then deploying a KYC method to him is much easier than showing it to him upfront while he's doing that. That obviously results in a loss of a potential conversion. That is one example. I was walking in the expert today and yesterday mostly. I spent 10 minutes at all the booths, combined 10 minutes at all the booths, learning about more and more stuff. The first booth I stopped at was UBEX. I stopped and I just picked up the paper that they had. I went through that, quickly went to the website, dropped in $5,000 in BTC, and I was done in 60 seconds. Now I need to do a KYC for the tokens to come in. Very decent concept. I love that concept. I moved to the stall. That was done and said. The people received the BTC. I received the tokens. Then I went to a stall of Nano Healthcare. Very interesting stuff that they're doing. And these are not paid promotions, by the way. So I just stopped by them and I said, I want to do, I like what you're doing. I just need to buy tokens. So I bought another $10,000 worth of tokens from Nano. That also process happened in a minute, because it was a on the table negotiation and a dump. And I just moved on. So I made about $15,000 of investments in about 3-4 minutes tops. That's the beauty of explaining your ICO. If you're able to convince somebody in a minute of what you're doing, you have it. You have it all. There, and it has become so easier to invest right now with people who are actively investing in ICOs or even the general public because of the whole peer-to-peer transaction network. If you look at the VC route, if you look at the angel investor route, if you ask me for investments as an angel, it's a very complex process. There's due diligence, there's term sheets, and then you get to the share SHAs and everything. It's just a lot of work, and it's just a lot of time. In that same time, you can raise a lot of money from an ICO, probably doing some smaller formalities, and more than that, literally diverting from your question and answering other things, but it's okay. So the other thing that I would like to shed light on is that when you do an ICO, you not just are taking money from people, but you're also building an amazing community. Now that community is diverse, that community is global, and that way you can tap into multiple markets using the potential of that community, which is very interesting. That advantage is not there when you get into a VC or an angel investment round. If you raise money from a VC, you get funds, and then you have to distribute those funds equally into different sectors to get to new markets. You use marketing and all of that. That's shit, money that you spend in a lot of not required irrelevant places. You do an ICO, you're raising money from the same people, and you're building community in different markets, which is a very intelligent and very potentially it's a very powerful move for any company or any token. I see a lot of platforms now doing their own coins. I heard yesterday that my favorite brand, McDonald's, is launching their own Mac coin. That was very fun. So yeah, I mean, it's a good way.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm seeing a red light flashing there, which says time's up. I don't know if you can go 5 minutes over and maybe take a few questions, or maybe just a couple of questions.
Maybe we can take a couple of them, sir.
Yeah.
We have
couple
somebody.
Of questions. So I'll request to keep it very brief. Just a question, please. No statements. So maybe gentleman there, yeah.
Just give us a moment while we hand over the mic to him. Yeah.
Hi, hello. Thank you guys for a great panel. So my question is, I'm glad that we have a lot of guys here who have done businesses in India in the past. So our government stance is very negative towards blockchain companies in general, and we are kind of like really scared to start blockchain companies in India and trying to move to Malta and other places. So with your experience in place, what do you think that with the developments happening, the government of India's stance might change? And my second question is like,
sorry,
the gentleman...
one question only, sorry. And let me answer that very quickly. I think you have got it mixed there. The government of India is very, very pro-blockchain. We are doing a bunch of pilots. What we are doing in the crypto side, don't confuse that with the entire blockchain sphere. We are very pro-blockchain. We are doing a lot of projects. You have seen it in the newspapers. We are doing a land registry pilot with the Union Territory of Chandigarh. We are doing a fertilizer subsidy supply chain use case in Gujarat. We are picking up a bunch of other projects, and we are in very fair advanced stage of implementing that. You have seen people here who are doing blockchain activities, so I don't think that's a fair statement.
I understand that, but like blockchain is really worthless without having a cryptocurrency in the first place.
We can have that discussion, and I think to some stage you are right. Incentivization mechanism has to be put in, but that's a longer discussion, and I really want to go
just one last one.
I'm sorry, I'll have to go to somebody else.
All right,
just one question only.
Any further questions, ladies? Yes.
Guys, you can always talk to us offline. We're all going to be here.
Yeah, we are here, so you can ask us offline. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Naveen. I had just one single question, which is, do you think the concept of STO, could help, both the companies and the government, legalize cryptocurrency, because we are taking care of all the securities, we are taking care of all the regulations from the government. Do you think introduction of security tokens could help government also legalize cryptocurrency? Yes. Security tokens, yeah.
Security tokens?
STO, yeah, STOs. Instead of having ICOs in India, we can have STOs, and do you think that could help government legalize?
So the question is not very clear. So you want to know more about security tokens versus other tokens?
No. my question was, do you think in concepts like STOs could help government legalize cryptos?
So if you look at STO, basically security tokens is a very good model for especially India, right? And but India does not have this policy of accredited investors per se, right? So the fallout of that would be that for them, they will have to make a regulatory environment. That regulatory environment in India, you understand how long it takes, right? And especially the biggest problem in STO today is that there are no STO exchanges even in the US, right? So what they are doing is a hybrid model of launching a STO with a security token backed by a utility token. The utility token, is sold in the exchanges, and the STO token is just left with the investor as it is. So there are a lot of other models which are in play, and it is too early to say whether STO is the right framework for India. In my opinion, India should open itself for ICOs rather than STOs.
I just wanted to take a moment, as this is the last session, to thank the crew behind Abhishek's team for a really splendid job that they've done. And I'd like you to just stand up and applause for them, because they've shown grace under storm, they've shown resilience under pressure, and they've shown professionalism with a smile to put a really outstanding event together. So thank you all for that, and I'd like to pass it back now for the closing speech.